Listening to Comic Reflections, Episode 7. I'm Nicholas Prom.
And I'm Spencer Valadez.
All right, Spencer, so we've got a lot on our plate today.
We do.
We're actually doing segments now, not long, rambling talks about trade this week. So this will be good. First, I want to start off, though, before we get into this, another correction, okay? Now, a couple episodes back, I had that thing about, I was talking about the pronunciation of Ra's al Ghul.
Okay.
I was talking the other podcasts I listened to. I've been going to listen to all their episodes from the beginning, and they were saying that someone they had talked to on a panel at a Comic-Con had said, "Nope, I talked to Denny O'Neil, and it's Ra's al Ghul."
Oh, okay.
Then I was all mad, whatever.
Right.
You remember that? I'm a raging beast. But then I go back and I'm listening, and I'm like, oh, they have an episode where they do an interview with Denny O'Neil, and they ask him, and they're like, it's Ra's al Ghul.
Oh, okay.
Because his daughter asked a language professor at some, bigwig university, and it's like, no, it's Ra's. It's Middle Eastern. Yeah, it's Ra's, man.
Oh, okay.
So it's totally Ra's al Ghul. Denny O'Neil, you are right. I love you, Denny.
Awesome.
So that's what's up. It's Ra's al Ghul. So Liam Neeson was wrong, like I thought before. So I just feel better now. I feel so validated.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So the big thing that I think is on the plate today is the Green Lantern coming out as gay, the DC comics
Alan
thing.
Scott, yeah.
Where do we want? Okay, so just to back up, this is Alan Scott, the Golden Age Green Lantern.
Right.
They've in the New 52, everything's gotten retconned and rebooted. Okay.
Okay.
So in the New 52, they have it's like 52, a multiverse of 52 different worlds. Try to keep track of that.
Yeah.
They haven't even rolled them all out yet, but it's already like filmed in Confusovision. But anyway, on Earth 2, in New 52, this version of Alan Scott is gay.
Okay.
And you're like, okay, fine. I guess we won't be seeing his children, Jade or Obsidian, anytime ever.
Right.
Well, as long as I do the New 52, I think it'll collapse personally. But there's kind of a backlash. What can you tell me about that?
There's been a lot of news about this new story coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, personally, we've talked about this a little bit, and it doesn't matter to us, really.
Well, right. We haven't talked about it on the show, though.
No, we haven't. But there is backlash. The Million Moms movement has spoken out against it.
They're just like the Westboro Baptists or the PMRC from the 80s. So.
Yeah, I feel like they're just looking for something to scream about.
Ooh, just waiting to be offended. Offend me.
Yeah, definitely. And they're claiming that older people don't need a gay superhero. Kids don't need to be reading about gay superheroes and things like that. Whatever. I doubt his homosexuality is going to take the main stage of the story.
And it's not like you're reading a porno comic. It's just like he's gay. He's in a relationship with a man.
Yeah.
And this goes back to the ignorance that people have about comic books. So this is for small children. Yeah. How dare you corrupt our children? This is a form of literature that is more. I mean, more of it is geared towards the young adult to adult audience.
Definitely.
I'm 30 years old, and I'm more of a comic book fan than I've ever been in my life. Now,
right?
And I've been a lifelong enjoyer of comic books. It's not just kids stuff to be swept under the rug. This is a real medium, and there are gay people in real life. Why would you just homosexuality doesn't exist in the comic books?
Right.
Get real.
And I mean, there have been others.
Plenty of others.
You've mentioned that there's a wedding coming up in the Marvel X-Men series.
Oh yeah, and no one's been make a big sting about that. I think DC's editorial decision to do this seems a little like it's a little too coincident. Like, no, you did this because Marvel's doing a gay thing,
okay.
But it's just like both of them have had gay characters. I mean, in the X-Men book, it's North Star, who used to be in Alpha Flight. He's been gay forever,
right?
And now he's got a boyfriend that he's marrying. Like, okay, who cares?
Right. Yeah, and I mean, again, there's others. There's
I can't think of too many.
Obsidian.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was so funny that in DC Comics, the earliest one that I could think of was actually Alan Scott's son, Obsidian.
Okay.
The Green Lantern's son, Obsidian, was gay. You know, and in the past few years, I mean, they've had Marvel has two characters in the Young Avengers, Hulkling and I can't remember the other guy's name. They're a gay couple.
Okay.
I don't see people just marching in the streets over this. You know, and there's in DC in the past, I think it was a few years ago, it's like, okay, Batwoman came back and she's a lesbian.
Okay, yeah.
So was and she was in a relationship with Detective Montoya, who became the Question.
Okay.
Remember, Detective Montoya was on the Batman animated series.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, they didn't have her as outed on the show.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think the big issue here is that Green Lantern is such a big name with the recent movie that came out.
Sure.
People are more in tune with the Green Lantern because of media.
And it's an X-Men character, you know, in the Marvel. It's like, then nobody's ever heard of them.
Right.
It might be an X-Men, but it's not like Wolverine's gay.
Right.
Which that would be hilarious.
So the Million Moms, they're whining and crying about the fact that little kids are going to be wearing Green Lantern shirts, and dressing up for Halloween as Green Lantern because of the movie. But do parents want their kids dressing up as a homosexual character? And really, I mean, kids aren't reading that. They're not. They don't care. It's not something that they're concerned with. They just see a cool character, and they think, I want to be a hero. I want to be cool.
Here's the thing. The only exposure, first of all, it just shows the ignorance of, like, they don't even know. Like, I bet you these Million Moms, they don't even realize that there's a Green Lantern Corps. There's, like, every sector in space has a Green Lantern. You know, every planet in thousands of worlds, has a Green Lantern. It's not just one guy.
Yeah.
And second of all, comic books, they're not sold in the 7-Eleven and grocery stores anymore.
Yeah.
You have to go to a comic book shop or get them online. How easy is it for parents to know? It's easier than ever for parents to know what your kids are reading with comic books.
Yeah.
The only other exposure the kids get to these characters is the animated versions, which are so, sterilized for television.
Yeah, they don't deal with things like that.
Yeah.
And my biggest issue with the Million Moms outrage is that maybe you should take more interest in what your kids are reading. Maybe not. Maybe there's something they're already reading that you can be upset about. Not necessarily just comic books. If you take an interest in your kids.
Well, they're taking an interest, but they're just like, let us ban this. It's like, how about actually, like, having a conversation with your child?
Absolutely. And if you're part of the persuasion of that you think homosexuality is wrong, that gay marriage is wrong, maybe explain that to them and say, hey, this is a comic book. We don't necessarily believe this.
Yeah.
But, my mom did that when I was growing up. Whenever.
But it's fiction. It's not real life.
And she always made sure that I knew that, hey, this isn't real. This isn't real life. Just go with it.
Yeah.
Especially like scary movies, things like that. If we were gonna watch a scary movie, it's not real life. Just remember that.
Yeah.
It's okay. And she took the time, and
sure.
I'm not messed up for that.
I almost see this as either like people who are like they got nothing else better to do.
Yeah.
Or that they're like, oops, I wasn't paying attention to my kids and now I'm mad, or I don't know. It's these weird parent groups. Yeah. But and it's so fun. And you know what? I was so disappointed because I go over to DC's Facebook page, DC Comics Facebook page, and I see all these like New York, New Jersey, like just like guys who are like, or just these meathead guys. I don't know why I'm saying New York, New Jersey, but
yeah.
I just get that New England, wearing a baseball jersey guy.
Yeah.
But anyway, just guys who are like, oh, I'll never read DC Comics now that they got a queer superhero. I'm like, get out of town. Yeah. First of all, they've already had them.
Yeah.
Oh, but it was okay because they were lesbians.
Right.
That's cool. It's like, get real. And you're gonna boycott something because there's a character. Like, again. There are gay people in real life. Why would it be a straights only club in comics? So
and so that's the backlash, but let's talk about comics as a medium for
just
expanding our culture. You know,
sure.
I see comic books have always been kind of they've had their thumb on the pulse there.
Well, I think not always, but I think once we got into the 60s, you know, Marvel kind of became the guys like, all right, we've got superheroes with problems. They're not living in their lives are not perfect.
Right.
Okay. And then as that, you know, the decade came to a close and there was so much change going on in society, Marvel and DC both started doing stories that really reflected, you know, like changes in society,
right?
And you know that this wasn't a perfect world, and what a better way to do that than with superheroes?
Yeah, definitely.
You know? And they had to, because they really felt that because of a lot of distribution problems and things that the industry was feeling, that comic books weren't going to survive very long as a medium into the 70s.
Okay. Yeah. But we get some really good comics out of that.
Oh yeah, I mean we got the Spider-Man, the Harry Osborn drug story, you know, which was brave. You know, they submitted it for code approval, and code said, no, you can't do a drug story. And they're like, they're not glorifying it. We're just doing, you know, a story. Well, they actually, Stan took it back to Martin Goodman, the publisher or whatever. I think it was Goodman. And it's like, you know, I really believe in the story. We got to write. It's like, do it, put it out.
Wow.
So they do it in defiance of the Comics Code, which doesn't exist anymore. But
right.
But
that's big though. I mean, they're addressing an issue that people were dealing with,
and it sold like gangbusters. And then not long after that, DC put out that book where, you know, it was the Green Lantern Green Arrow story.
Okay.
And they find out that the Green Arrow's ward, his sidekick Speedy, was a junkie. He was doing heroin.
Yeah.
And you see the needle and the spoon and stuff on the cover.
You do. Yeah.
But that actually carried the code approval. It's like it changed. It's in the early, these kind of things like caused the relaxation of a lot of those rules.
Right. And so I feel the Million Moms movement in that time would have you know been outraged with the drug content in comics. But if you're really reading these comics, you're seeing that these people, these characters, are dealing with real life struggles, and neither Marvel or DC are condoning it. They're saying, look, this is an issue. We need to address it, and what better way to reach, you know, our target audience, who are the people typically using, than through comics.
Well, right. You know, it's like, you know, they really felt strongly about the drug thing. Like, this is a big deal. And so it became addressed. And, you know, it opened the door for, you know, America looking back at comics as not just kid stuff, because it had been dismissed as children's fairs, you know, at some point, you know, in the 50s. And it was starting to recover, like, okay, well, this has some literary value. And then, you know, I think that has grown and grown over time, you know, that sentiment.
Right.
It's good.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that they get the label of kid stuff.
Right. I mean, and there are certainly comic books. I don't want to say, like, oh, God, don't let your kids read comics, you know, because there's, I would say, especially the majority of Marvel and DC books are totally, you know, like, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
But
I'm not going to have a 7-year-old kid reading the Speedy heroin comic, but when they get a little older, maybe say, hey, this is what this is about. You know, don't do drugs.
The message isn't going to click if they're too young to understand that anyway. You know, and that's the thing. Like, if people were worried about the content of comic books, like, oh, you know, it's like a lot. You know, when I was a kid and I saw like a sex joke or something on TV, it went right by my head because I didn't know. Like, my folks would watch MASH and they'd make some blue, you know, something. Off-color remarks, you know, whiz right by me. Yeah. You know, it's like, you know what, you say, oh, we want our children to be children. It's like, believe me, they are. Yeah. They'll get it. When they get that joke, then it's time to have a real conversation.
Yes.
And we are getting a phone call.
Sorry about that.
It's all right. We get them sometimes. But yeah. So I don't know.
So I mean, there's our bit of reflection on the Alan Scott situation. I mean,
yeah, the Green Lantern. Yeah, I mean,
when it comes down to it,
and the thing is, that storyline or that character in that it's on a parallel Earth. It's not the main DC universe anyway. It's so gonna fade into obscurity. Be like, oh, remember that other Earth where Alan Scott was gay?
Yeah.
It's just like in the pre-crisis DC continuity, Earth 3 had the what do I call it? The crime syndicate, the Justice League were evil.
Yeah.
You know, not to say that that's the equivalent of Alan Scott being evil because he's gay. No, I'm not saying that at all. But I mean, get real.
Yeah.
It's just a story.
Yeah.
And people are multifaceted in all kinds of ways. I think having characters being gay makes them more believable. You know. So anyway, now what do we?
Yeah. So I think we're gonna head over to the our newest segment, the webcomic of the week. You said. You had something.
Yes, that's right. Okay, so webcomic of the week. So first, I want to give a shout out to a young lady I met at a party last week, Devin Snoke. If you're listening, hi. But she pointed me in the direction of this webcomic. It's called Freak Angels, and it's by Warren Ellis, and he's read lots of high-profile books I haven't gotten around to reading.
Right.
Transmetropolitan, The Authority. I think he does Planetary also. Again, these are books I haven't read, but I've wanted to. He might have done Why the Last Man. I can't remember if that's his or somebody else's. But anyway, and it's really weird because the storyline, first of all you gotta do is Google it. It's like freakangels.com. It's free. You can read it online. Awesome. This guy's got hundreds of pages of this. I'm like 20, 30 pages in tops. And I'm piecing it together, but he drops you in at this weird point to start, and then you kind of slowly kind of figure out, like, the setting is like there's been a flood or a disaster or something in England, like London, okay? And this group of 12 teenagers or 20-somethings with superpowers or like mental, like telepathy and, and pyrokinesis, telekinesis, or whatever, they exist in this world, and it's like they're kind of it's not post-apocalyptic, but it's post-disaster. And it's kind of like rebuilding because there's no FEMA ain't coming, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like a Katrina scenario, only England.
Okay.
With superpowers.
And
I don't know. It seems pretty cool, and it's I guess it's dealing with a lot of interpersonal things with these people and kind of rebuilding, kind of almost like a separatist settlement. I'm not terribly far into it, so I could be totally wrong, but yeah. Oh, it's really cool. It's like kind of like a cool steampunk vibe.
Oh, okay.
Like I saw one character. She had this like personal helicopter bicycle thing that was steam powered, but it was like yeah, kind of interesting. I don't know.
So definitely check that out. What was the?
It's freakangels.com.
Okay.
So yeah, I should go check that out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna continue reading, and I'm like kicking myself. I'm like, I gotta go read like Planetary and Authority now.
Right.
Because this is some interesting stuff. So
cool. So next up we have what are we reading?
What are we reading?
So we'll just go over the things we've been reading recently. And for me, this last week I wrapped up the Amazing Spider-Man Death of Gwen Stacy. It is a trade, but we won't dive too deep into it. It's a great story. It has the story of Harry Osborn
and his drug
addiction. He does LSD, and he has a really bad trip.
Yeah.
He's hospitalized, and Norman Osborn blames Peter and Mary Jane and Gwen Stacy. Yeah, she returns from England. Mm-hmm. This is post Captain Stacy's death, and so there's that friction between Spider-Man and Gwen Stacy.
Well, right, because Gwen thinks that Spidey killed her father,
right, and so Peter and her break up, and and so by the title of the trade, Death of Gwen Stacy, we do have
It should say those first couple issues. You get the Harry Osborn drug thing. That's 2 issues, and then it jumps like further in the year. Peter and Gwen have got back together, you know, and they're groovy. The Green Goblin's all over the place in this.
Yeah, he is.
And you want to talk a little bit about the second half of this? Not so much. I mean, kind of.
With
the more the focus on Gwen and the
oh
Goblin,
and so Green Goblin knows the identity of Spider-Man, Peter Parker.
Yeah.
But
only when he's the Goblin.
Only when he's the Goblin, right?
Because Norman Osborn has this like kind of schizophrenic back and forth between.
And so they're going to Norman Osborn goes to the theater and he has a secret. The secret, not lair, but secret like hiding spot for his stuff, and
he's got him all over the place. Yeah,
it's triggering some memories for him, and when those memories start getting triggered, he kind of jumps over to the Green Goblin state, and so then he remembers that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and he starts to try to use that to his advantage. If Spider-Man doesn't kill him, Green Goblin has something over him, which puts his family in danger, which puts his friends in danger. The typical, identity threat.
Mm-hmm.
And so when Stacy comes back from England, Green Goblin actually gets a hold of her and tells Spidey, "Hey, come get her and fight me, or she dies." Well, they fight, but when Spidey gets back to Gwen, she had already died. She'd gone over a ledge and
sends out the web line.
Yeah,
to catch
her, but before even catching her, she had died.
Yeah.
And so Spider-Man swears, he's gonna
get him.
He's gonna get him, and he does. And if you saw the first Spider-Man movie, it's fairly similar how they die. The
Green Goblin. Yeah, I mean that's pretty similar. Is impaled on the Goblin glider.
Right.
Yeah.
And so after that's all settled and they Gwen Stacy's died and Green Goblin has died. Harry's in the hospital. Harry's in the hospital still.
Oh yeah.
Because of his bad trip.
Oh yeah. But that's right, because it's throughout this. It's ongoing. Like Harry's just got problems. Anyway.
There's an epilogue with Spider-Man kind of recapping the relationship between him and Gwen.
Oh, you're referring to that story that's kind of in the end here?
Yeah.
That's actually a new story that they created for the trade, but it's nice. They get John Romita doing the art on this.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
The rest of the trade, they got great art from Gil Kane. But yeah, I love that little story. Did you want to talk about that? I mean,
oh yeah, we can. It's Peter Parker talking about his first love of Gwen Stacy, how they started dating, and kind of what happened between them.
Yeah.
And he's just remembering, and the last couple frames are him saying, she would want me to move on.
Well, yeah, and it's essentially saying she taught him how to love,
right,
and then he was able to be with Mary Jane, because stuff.
So yeah,
that was mushy stuff.
Yeah, the other two I read this week were The Punisher, the first in a limited series.
Oh, the limited series from 1985.
Yeah,
classic.
Where Castle's in jail and he's trying to escape, but some things get in the way. Don Castellano, I think. Kind of, he fights Jigsaw.
Oh, who is like he's the only recurring Punisher villain other than the Kingpin,
right?
Because he blows everybody away. Jigsaw is one that,
So he has a small fight with Jigsaw, and he's recruited by Don. Let's see here. I can't find it.
It's okay.
There's Cervello.
Okay.
He's recruited by John Cervello to help in the escape of prisoners. But the night of the escape, he is shot by the henchmen of the Don.
Are you talking about the Dawn or the Punisher?
Frank Castle shot by the henchmen,
Okay.
but it's a homemade silenced weapon, and so the bullets don't even penetrate the mattress, let alone kill Frank Castle.
Yeah, it's something they put together in prison,
Yeah.
Okay.
And so the escape...
He shot him with a pellet gun, basically.
The escape takes place. Castle realizes, you know what, they were going to kill me from the beginning. It's my turn to take some shots. He chases down and takes control of the security tower, and then makes his way up to the warden's office where the Don and Jigsaw are holding the warden and his assistant hostage.
Okay.
We have a nice little shootout between Jigsaw and Frank Castle.
Okay.
And then he punches out Don Cervello.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as that happens, the police rush in. Yeah. Everyone's saved, and they're about to take Punisher back to his cell.
Yeah.
But the warden wants to keep him there to have a little talk about how there are private citizens in, I think it's New York.
Should be. Oh, they're on Rikers Island. It's New York. Yeah.
That they realize that crime's out of control.
Yeah.
And they need someone like the Punisher to be on the streets.
Okay.
To take care of
the police say that?
No, the warden and his assistant.
They're like, yeah, go for it. We'll let the Punisher go.
Yeah. And
That's
so
wild.
Rather than letting him just go out into public, he has to escape, quote unquote. And if he gets caught, he'll be sent back to jail. But I mean, with the warden in his pocket,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And so
it makes the warden's job a lot easier if you think about it.
Definitely. And so, I mean, we have a great panel of the Punisher in his suit at the end.
Oh, yeah.
Putting it all on.
I'm sure, and I know this is collected in a trade.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
I would love to read this. I'm really digging this. The art, I recognize, it's Mike Zeck, who, he did a lot of books in the 80s for Marvel. I think he did Captain America. I know he did the Marvel Secret Wars maxi series, which was loads of fun. Yeah, that's good reading.
So definitely go pick this up if you can find it. It's a great read.
I should have looked it up which trade that's collected it in.
Yeah, definitely.
But maybe you have to do a little Google search. But the Punisher Limited series from the first one. So.
So the third and last thing I read this week was the DC Comic Presents number 62.
Oh, okay.
Superman and the Freedom Fighters.
Oh, I love this. This is one of my favorites when I was a kid.
Yeah, this one was excellent.
So I gotta say, DC Comics Presents was the Superman team up book. You know,
right.
Batman had Brave and the Bold. Superman got DC Comics Presents. So.
We start off on Earth Prime.
Hey, that's where we live.
That's where we live.
Pre-crisis.
Yes. And this little boy wearing a Superman shirt. He's bored at the Museum of History.
They're going to a traveling exhibit to see the Constitution and Declaration of Independence.
Yeah.
Right?
So he's like, I don't want to do that. I want to read my comic book. And you look down, the comic book is this comic book.
Yeah.
That's
the same cover. I love it.
It was clever. And as we open it up, we see Uncle Sam trying to get a hold, who's in the Freedom Fighters, trying to get a hold of Superman because something terrible is going to happen on his Earth.
I think it's going to be on Earth 1.
On Earth 1.
Remember, Uncle Sam lives on, and the Freedom Fighters are on Earth X.
Yeah.
Where World War II never ended. Yeah. I mean, they're still fighting the Nazis there. So.
Yeah. And so Uncle Sam is trying to get a hold of Superman, saying, "Hey, look, some terrible stuff's going to go down." and we need your help. And Superman's like, terrible stuff's already going down. I need to get over there, deal with the other stuff. Yeah. I'll get back to you. And so Uncle Sam, who's able to go from different Earths because of his connection with the spirit of America.
Something like that, yeah. He's able to, for some reason, he's able to travel easily between the parallel Earths.
Right.
Usually you had to be like the Flash. The Flash was able to go through the time barrier or whatever. Or Superman could do it rather easily.
Okay.
Not the time barrier, but yeah.
Yeah.
Not everybody could do it so easily, but right. Yeah.
But Uncle Sam is one of those fellows.
Yeah.
And so he jumps back to Earth X and gathers up his buddies, minus...
the Phantom Lady is absent from this.
Yeah.
This was my first Freedom Fighter story, so I didn't know her yet.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, now you go like, where's the Phantom Lady in this story? But
so we have Dollman. He can grow and shrink his size, but remains strong.
Well, he just shrinks. He doesn't grow to like giant size.
Right.
He just shrinks down to like doll size, but he remains human strength. Okay.
Right. We have the Human Bomb.
Yeah.
Who is a cool character.
Yeah.
I think I want to try to check out a little more.
He's cool. He wears his containment suit because anything that he touches with his bare whatever explodes.
Yeah.
He causes explosions. Like he takes off his boot, steps on the ground, explode. So.
Yeah. We have the Ray and his light.
Flying, like light, man. I'm a little fuzzy on his power, but it's like an energy power.
And then we have the Black Condor.
Who flies.
And they all jump back with Uncle Sam back to Earth 1. And we realize that the Nazis, a neo-Nazi group or something, has gotten a hold of our Constitution.
Yeah, they've stolen the Constitution. Is it the Constitution or Declaration?
Oh, you know what? It's the Declaration.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
It's fine.
That was how the Nazis had succeeded on Earth X, is that they had gotten a hold of...
Right. And it's implied here that like somehow the spirit of America resides within those documents or something.
Right.
And so the Superman, like when Uncle Sam came to recruit him, he was off to go and try and stop natural disasters that were occurring somehow because these Nazi guys had gotten the Declaration of Independence.
Right.
It's pretty ridiculous.
Yes.
But it's okay. It sets up this real fun story. So
yeah. So we have Uncle Sam jumping back to Earth 1 and giving orders to the freedom fighters. Hey, we need to find these Nazis. They have the Declaration. We have Superman gathering up wheat because it's all being destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
Going to the Fortress of Solitude, trying to figure it out. There are riots in the streets, and the freedom fighters are trying to stop it.
Yeah.
And so we have Uncle Sam pushing people apart, Black Condor swooping people, grabbing people up, the Ray knocking weapons out of hands, and in a wave of just trying to knock people out, the Human Bomb takes off his shoe and just
boom,
knocks him out.
I love that he takes his boot off and then causes the
the freedom fighters see Superman swooping in, and they're like, you know what, he can handle this riot. We need to go find the Nazis. Superman sucks the oxygen out of the air and causes the people to pass out.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Don't worry about brain damage or anything there, Superman.
And so the freedom fighters find the secret base using the connection between Uncle Sam and the spirit of America.
Nice.
Like a weird conduit of, spirit.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, Uncle Sam is in tune to this. His power seems to be some kind of America magic. It's very confusing, but it's cool.
Yeah, and so they bust in and they start fighting the Nazis, while Superman is sent out to the Atlantic to see to check out some Soviet ships.
Oh this is Cold War time.
Yeah,
and apparently the documents being seen is like the Soviets are now going to be aggressive at this point.
Yeah. And so he sees, nuclear weapons, and he realizes he has to stop them.
Wait, was it the Soviets or was it the Nazis? They had those weapons.
No, it was the Soviets.
Okay.
Those are Russian ships.
Oh yeah, okay. So it's two different things are going on here.
Okay.
And
so the freedom fighters are fighting the Nazis, and the main Nazi, the head Nazi guy, has the Declaration, and he's about to light it on fire.
Yeah.
And that pisses off Uncle Sam.
Yeah.
And so the Ray jumps in and controls that fire.
Yeah, he pulls it away from there.
And Uncle Sam jumps in and just starts beating down on...
He's wailing on this Nazi guy. Yeah.
And Superman, because the spirit of America is in danger, I think that has something to do with what's going on with Superman. Superman is conflicted on what he needs to do. I think it has something to do with him being, America's champion.
Well, I think Superman's not noticing the connection because he blew off Uncle Sam. He's like, I got things to do.
Right. And so he realizes that there's a American space shuttle flying in towards the Russian ships, and he realizes, there's going to be a problem. But he doesn't know he's having a hard time deciding what he needs to do.
Right.
And so he realized, I got to do something. And as he's trying to figure out what he wants to do, Uncle Sam loses the upper hand.
Mm-hmm.
And the Nazi kind of gives him a good whack.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going back and forth. But
you're seeing Superman struggle with these disasters, and then the back and forth, and Uncle Sam's fight with this Nazi leader.
It's a great story. And so Superman, not knowing what he has to do, just picks up the Soviet ship and saves it from the plummeting space shuttle.
It's just so what?
Yeah.
I was a kid reading this, and there's no okay, I totally went with it.
Yeah.
This is a great story for a youngster.
And so the Nazi seems like he has the upper hand. Uncle Sam takes him out, grabs the Constitution, but another Nazi is sneaking in with a gun to shoot Uncle Sam.
Okay.
But before he's able to do anything, there's a laser ray that blows the gun away.
Is it Superman's heat vision? Or?
And it's Superman's heat vision.
Yeah.
And then we get this.
Superman flies Uncle Sam back to the White House
and he
delivers the Declaration.
Delivers the Declaration to the president. And then Clark Kent.
Oh yeah, but that's disaster averted. The Soviets turned back because we got the Constitution back.
Yeah.
The Declaration. Yeah.
So then Clark Kent has Uncle Sam on his newscast.
Yeah.
And hey, thanks for helping us out. And again, Uncle Sam has a great speech.
Yeah.
And and you guys might have said it before. I'm a sucker for a good America speech.
Oh, I know. I know that's why. I know that's why you read that Captain America trade.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you always get the great things from Cap. And I remember I said I'll let you quote it all you wanted that speech from Crisis.
Yeah.
It's just loads of fun. So
and so we get another great speech from Uncle Sam over the news.
Do you want to quote it? Do you want to?
No, I'll
Come on, you do.
Okay. My fellow Americans, I know many of you are fearful after today's events, fearful of the specter of darkness that fell across the shining land.
Yeah.
Let me tell you that darkness has been banished, that this nation's spirit is strong once again. The symbols of our heritage, our culture, and our way of life that seem to teeter on the brink still stand on a firm foundation. But we are entrusted with preserving America's proud traditions But we who are entrusted with preserving America's proud traditions cannot afford to let our vigilance slacken. We must always remember that the meaning of what we stand for, because as long as we stand for the freedom of all mankind, we know that we will never stand alone. And it's
Mama.
It's super cheesy, but I love it. I don't.
Oh, it's loads of fun, and it's so ambiguous. It's like there's no left or right.
Yeah, it's just
like America.
America.
America. Not gonna sing that on the show.
Right.
And then the epilogue is fun too.
The epilogue is great because we jump back to
the kid who has just read this story. Yeah. He's like, "Wow, America rules!"
I want to go read my Declaration, and wait for me. I want to check it out,
Yeah.
And then we have he drops the comic, and we have a hand picking up the comic, And we have Uncle Sam opening the comic and reading it.
He's like, hey, go get him, Superman. He can travel between all the worlds in the multiverse. Why can't Uncle Sam come to Earth Prime?
Exactly.
So, yeah.
So that's what I read this week, and I mean, it was so much fun.
That is, that's one of my favorite comics ever.
Yeah.
I just have fond memories. You know, I always say, like, when I was a kid, I was definitely a Marvel kid. I didn't have loads of comics.
Right.
And what I had were mostly Marvel. So, but that was one of my DC comics, one of the few, and I just loved that one. So
it is great, and I mean, if you guys have the chance, definitely try to find it somewhere.
Yeah, DC Comics presents number 62, and you can get this. Go to your local comic book shop, go to a Comic-Con, you can get it for $1.
Yeah,
I guarantee you.
It's great. It's a great read. We don't do it justice. It's so much fun.
It's fun, and those are really fun. I read in DC Comics Presents they did a two-parter where it's Superman and Captain Marvel.
Oh wow!
I don't remember the numbers, but that's really fun too.
Yeah. So, you read anything recently?
Oh, I'm always reading comic books. What's that?
Right.
No, of course I'm reading something, and I've been reading more back issues too. I mean, I don't get into the shops as often because it's hard, but gosh, last night I was reading some old Teen Titans stuff, and it's the original four, Robin, Wonder Girl, Kid Flash, and Aqualad. Okay, so it's four, and I remember it had this little. It was one of those old DC Blue Ribbon digests. Okay, those little things that have like 100 pages of like reprints of like DC comic stories, and these were published these were reprinted in the 80s, so it's like earlier stories than that. But anyway, those are really fun comics. But anyway, this had a few old Teen Titans stories, and this one they had a team up with Hawk and Dove in there, and that was pretty cool. And that carried over a couple issues, and I was lost as to what they were after in the menace they fought. The one story the one that really stuck in my mind was like this ridiculous one. It was such a Scooby-Doo story. It's the Teen Titans, and they go on vacation to a ski lodge, and somebody's causing trouble, like whatever, to scare off people or whatever, and it's it's the Scooby-Doo story. It's like somebody's gonna try and help these Native Americans. Oh, and it's full of Native American stereotypes.
Awesome.
Yeah,
love those.
Oh yeah, they're fun. I'll have to learn that today sometime. But anyway, it's the typical Scooby-Doo story. It's like, oh, scare them away because I want to turn it into sell the land because it's the ski resort's a failure or whatever. And it's a guy who owns a lodge, and he says he's going to do this and help the Indians get back their land for whatever. It's a lie. He wants to get the property and sell it to somebody so they can turn it into a missile base or something. But it's the Scooby-Doo story. Yeah. It's pretty ridiculous, but you get to see the Teen Titans go down like a bobsled at some point because they've been knocked out, and then Robin wakes up and grabs some snow, throws it in Kid Flash's face to wake him up, and he's like, "Oh, what's going on?" And they kind of get loose and they go get the bad guys. It's so. Yeah.
And it was the graveyard keeper.
It was the innkeeper or whatever that they met. And he seemed like a fun guy. Oh, but he was a bad guy. Yeah, it's ridiculous. But I just enjoyed that. It was fun.
Pulled off his mask.
Yeah, no, there was none of that. But I mean, it was basically that setup. I was like, "Are you kidding me? This is so bad." But so I don't know why I'm telling about that story, but it's just kind of fun. Yeah, it stuck in my mind. I'm like, this is so. But I tell you, I read. I love crazy Superman stories. Okay,
right.
I always say one of my favorite ones to tell is it's a Jimmy Olsen story. Okay. And the story goes like this. I wish I could remember the name of the story, but Jimmy's at some chemical plant in Metropolis. Okay, and he uses his signal watch to get Superman, and Superman comes in and puts the chemical fire out by like spinning real fast to suck the oxygen out of there and put out the fire. Okay. Well, he spins at the right frequency or at the speed or whatever. He accidentally sends Jimmy through the time barrier.
Really?
Okay, and Jimmy ends up in Smallville of the past. Why he wasn't just in that same spot or whatever.
Right.
I don't know. We'll just suspend that disbelief, okay? So Jimmy Olsen gets sent to Smallville of the past and meets Superboy and meets Clark Kent, and he figures out that they are the same guy.
Right.
And he gets to witness all of these great feats of Superboy and and he's gonna do a great story.
Right.
And yeah, at some point in the story he figures out, okay. So when sometimes and they determine, he tells him how he got there. And he's like, oh, well, we'll just get you, we'll usually do the same thing, send you back.
Right.
When it's time to go. So when it's time to go, he's like, oh, Jimmy, do you want to take with you a souvenir? Because you can't have him, go and know his identity. Yeah. So you have a souvenir, to take with you. I was like, sure. And he gives you the sample of, amnesium, which is something Superboy found in space or some silly thing. So getting sent the amnesium with Superboy or with Jimmy back through the time barrier. First of all, he shows up in the Daily Planet offices.
Oh wow!
That's where he lands back. I don't know how you get this precision here.
That Superboy's fairly accurate then.
Yeah, just like Superman. How did he get all this Smallville? Wow. But anyway, then. Of course, he's forgotten, oh, hey, Clark, whatever.
Yeah.
Totally. So.
Poor Jimmy.
Yeah, Jimmy Olsen. So I thought that was a fun, ridiculous story. Another one is, I think it's called Invasion of the Super Ants. And it's these giant ants show up in, around Metropolis, and they're, doing stuff. People freaking out, giant ants, what the heck.
Right.
Superman can't communicate with them because he realized, they're sentient, okay?
Yeah.
And he wants to okay, what are they doing? Because it doesn't seem like they're really attacking, but they're just kind of people were scared or whatever. Yeah. So he, in order to find a way to communicate with them, he finds somewhere a cloud of red kryptonite where he knows there is one.
Oh.
Okay, or a space cloud that had red kryptonite in it, I think. Something weird.
Uh-huh.
Flies through it and is concentrating about ants or something. And so then when he goes through it, because, red kryptonite does something weird to him every time and it's temporary.
Right.
So then when he comes out, he's part ant. He's got a head, ant eyes and head and antenna, so they can communicate with them. And it's they're sorry about the misunderstanding. We were just here to get some stuff and repair our ship. We weren't trying to be well, no big deal. And so Superman's glad he didn't destroy them.
Yeah.
Whatever. And he later reverts back to regular Superman. I'm what a weird story.
Yeah.
And there's Superman. Gosh, you read old Superman stories. There's so much weirdness like that, and they're really enjoyable. Another one, and I'll end this with that. This one other one. The story's called At Last, Clark Kent Superhero. And the story opens up, it's Superman is at the Daily Planet, okay?
Uh-huh.
And everyone's just acting oh, hey, Superman, hey, Clark, okay?
Yeah.
Whatever, blah, blah, blah. And it's what the heck's going on? People treat it he's no big deal, it's...
Right.
He's getting the Clark Kent treatment and whatever. Then you see, outside, there's, trouble, Queen Bee's henchmen or something are out there and causing trouble. And so he flies into action, puts on the suit, the business suit, and flies into action and stops him as Clark Kent with the glasses flying in the Superman. Okay, and you're what in the heck is going on here?
Right.
Okay, so it's we were all in just, I don't want to say bizarre world because it's Superman,
right.
But everything's all mixed up. So then we get filled in on the story of you're hooked, what the heck? Queen Bee has created an anti-Justice League.
Oh.
Okay, wait, just hang with me. And it's comprised of her and Gorilla Grodd, Clayface, Brainiac, Sinestro, Kronos, and Merlin. He's an archer. He's a villain in Green Arrow. Okay. There might be one or two more, but anyway, it's okay. Okay, and her deal was she's got a floating satellite in space, and she's haha, we're gonna capture every member of the Justice League, and then whatever.
Right.
Get them out of the way. Well, Superman gets wind that all the League members are captured by her, and so that this is happening. So to buy time, so that the Brainiac won't find him and capture him. He goes to the Fortress of Solitude and uses this device that will brainwash everyone, like will kind of transpose things in everyone's minds on Earth. Like they'll treat Clark Kent like he was Superman, and Superman like Clark Kent, or they'll see them as that or whatever.
Okay.
And the idea is that's totally illogical, and Brainiac, being purely logical, will be trying to find me and can't because of that. So this will give him the time to find the Queen Bee's satellite and rescue the League.
Right.
He brainwashed everyone on Earth to buy time, so that against Brainiac. That's okay. Anyway, he finds the satellite, kicks the crap out of all of these supervillains. There's like 7 of them, and it's like, whoa, Superman again, Brainiac and Sinestro and Clayface. Yeah. This is rad. And Gorilla Grodd. All those guys. So, it's so dumb. And then he goes and fixes it. It's like, it's a wonderful story. I'm like, yes. When I read this, I'm like, this is my favorite Superman story. It's just it was so weird. Yeah. But so awesome. Like, yes, it's got weirdness, check. Yeah. It's got lots of supervillains, check. Yeah. I love, my favorite, when I first started reading old Superman stories, I was so bummed, like, oh, where are the villains and stuff, all this weird stuff. Then I started really digging the weird, the oddballness of these stories. I'm like, yes, they're weird Superman stories. And there are so many of them. Yeah. But this had both. I'm like, yes, super villainy and that. Awesome. So I was really jazzed about that. Awesome. Oh, yeah, and plus, of course, cameos by everyone in the Justice League.
Definitely. That's something.
So that's what I've been reading.
Right. For a long time, I was annoyed by thank God they created the such and such, kind of like to fill the questions you have.
Like what kind of
stuff? The flux capacitor thing. Thank God they created the flux capacitor. Oh yeah.
Why does it go travel time?
Right.
You can't just say, I built a time machine, let's go. Yeah, it has to have a thing. Yeah, okay.
It used to annoy me when stories wouldn't have, they wouldn't explain why Superman has this brainwashing machine in his Fortress of Solitude, or where the amnesium came from. You know what I mean? It used to annoy the crap out of me.
Sometimes they just he's got this.
Yeah. But after reading for a while, it turns to like, you know what? Okay, fine. Yeah. Fine. You can do it. You're a comic book. Exactly. So yeah, I think that's our.
Yeah, I think we're done. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah, definitely.
Hit them with the email.
Oh yeah. Again, we're on YouTube. You're probably listening there. But definitely send us your emails at comic.reflections@gmail.com, and we will answer you. We love your feedback, and it makes a better show for you.
Yeah, and like us on Facebook.
Yes, definitely.
Especially if you're stumbling upon this on the YouTube. But yes, yeah, that's. We'll see y'all next week.
Bye.